Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello, good day.
Hey, guys. So we're looking at, it's not a tsunami. It's actually a cloud coming in. This is over Lake Michigan. That is super wild, isn't it?
That is absolutely stunning and frightening and everything in between.
Sure is. I mean, I've seen some crazy cloud formations. Usually, I'd say the most interesting ones I saw were down in Florida. Some massive ones, but this one's right up there with any of them.
This one looks like a rolling tsunami. It was so cool.
It really does. So we see recent Atlantic Ocean warming, unprecedented in nearly 3,000 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So basically, sediments from a lake in the Canadian high Arctic allow climate scientists to extend the record of Atlantic sea surface temperature from about 100 to 2,900 years. Shows that the warmest interval over this period has been the past 10 years.
That's really interesting, and I think they do that with ice cores.
You know, what's of course going to happen is, this news will go out to all those that are pushing the global warming, being a human-induced carbon emissions and all that. Interesting too. We've seen that there's been basically a period of unprecedented change from like the middle 1850s forward. And yet that is also a time period where we see the magnetic pole reversals starting and speeding up.
That's interesting.
Yeah, everything comes in cycles. It's all cycles, guys. We see hidden in every culture around the globe, the shape of the spiral. We keep coming back to certain time periods, but it's always a little bit different each time. And we are definitely in a time of massive change right now.
Extremely huge change.
So we see solar minimum radiation, the cosmic rays, increases atmospheric radiation by 15%, reaching a 5-year high. So again, the cosmic rays are coming in, and I just ordered a copy. It was the last copy I could find of Robert Felix's work about evolutionary leaps when we're in these time periods, and hopefully that'll be here in the next couple of days. Can't wait to go through that. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, read a lot of reviews on it, and it seems like it's going to be a great book. But basically, like I was saying before in previous videos, what he says is, and it makes perfect sense to me, increased cosmic radiation, you're going to have evolutionary leaps and changes.
Yeah, and this is something that's happening to all of us.
And again, we have multiple things going on. We have a grand solar minimum underway. We have a magnetic pole reversal in progress. And we have we do have a lot of man-made things going on too, with high stratospheric injections, geoengineering and the like, perhaps weather wars going on. So atmospheric radiation is near a 5-year high. And the plot shows a 15% increase since the program began in 2015.
So get your sunshine.
Yeah, well, there's going to be so much fear being pushed about increased cancer levels because of that radiation coming in. We have seen in the past that UVC, which is thought to be very deadly, is hitting the ground when it should never hit the ground according to what science has told us. So again, these are unprecedented times. And you can see they're monitoring this over in California. And so what'll happen? I mean, how quickly is this going to increase? And, what type of evolutionary leaps will we have?
And they're not going to tell us the whole truth.
Of course not. Yes, we know that. New seismic research explains continental collision beneath Tibet. And I was telling Cindy that we have in the United States the Colorado Plateau. And so anywhere you go kind of on that Colorado Plateau, you really won't find an elevation much below 6,000 feet. It's kind of 6,000 or 7,000 is your baseline. Well, over here in Tibet, it's like more than double that. The base elevation is like around 14,000 feet. And so, of course, Mount Everest, and, it just dwarfs what we have in the Rockies, absolutely dwarfs. And so new seismic data is collected by scientists at Stanford University and Chinese Academy of Geological Sciences suggests that two competing processes are simultaneously operating beneath a collision zone in Tibet. This research contributes to ongoing debate over the structure of the collision zone in the Himalaya region, the only place on Earth where continental plates continue colliding. So it's different with the plates with the ocean. Those tend to be thinner. And as we know, we have different subduction zones where there are plates that are heading back down underneath others. And so what they're debating here, too, is the plate going into the mantle and being melted and kind of going on with that process, or is it actually going underneath the other plate and just continually lifting it up without subducting into the mantle and melting away? How high will it get is a question too. It's really interesting. So the research marks the first time scientists have gathered credible images of a long strike or longitudinal variation in the Himalaya collision zone, the physical and political inaccessibility of Tibet. And that's another, whole issue. And, while we're talking about this, let's send our prayers and best wishes and best intents for the people of Tibet that have been so, just basically robbed of their identity and their culture by the CCP. And it's really a very, very sad situation. And so most field experiments have either been too localized to understand the big picture, or they've lacked sufficient resolution at depths to properly understand the processes, said Simon Klemperer, geophysics professor at Stanford School of Earth, Energy, and Environmental Sciences. Klemperer and his colleagues gathered seismic data that provided the first west-to-east view of the subsurface where India and Asia collide. And of course, that collision gave us the Himalayas. The new images indicate that two competing processes are ongoing beneath the collision zone simultaneously, the movement of one tectonic plate under another, and the crust's thinning and collapse. The study was the first time researchers have gathered credible images of a long strike or longitudinal variation in the collision zone. As the Indian plate collides with Asia, it forms Tibet, the tallest and biggest mountain plateau on Earth, and this process started about 57 million years ago, which was relatively recent in geological history, and that is again the time frame that they give us. Is it the real time frame? Up to each person, I guess, to decide for themselves. Researchers proposed many explanations for this formation, including the thickening of the crust caused by the Indian plate gliding beneath the Tibetan plateau. They started major logistical effort of mounting new seismic recorders in 2011 to resolve details that might have been overlooked. The new recorders were installed from east to west across Tibet. The final images from recordings by 159 new seismometers spaced along two 997-kilometer-long profiles show where the Indian crust has deep cracks associated with the Himalayan arc's curvature. So we're seeing at a much finer scale what we never saw before. It took a heroic effort to install closely spaced seismometers across the mountains instead of along the valleys to collect data of the west-east direction and make this research possible. And so that gets me thinking about what we talked about this morning, Edgar Cayce's prophecies, because some of the area in the middle of the U.S. is prophesied to rise up. So how high is a question too, and I wonder how long until that process starts, or if it's already starting.
I strongly feel it's already started. It's very difficult to put a timeline on these things, but I do believe in Edgar Cayce's work.
Yeah, and again, some of his prophecies didn't come true at the time that he was thinking they were going to come true, but apparently a lot of them are starting to really manifest now. So again, our consciousness can probably either delay some things or maybe even make some things a little bit milder. Here we see severe floods claim 47 lives, damage more than 900,000 hectares of crops, and this is in India. And, again, boat rescues for people. We've seen this all over the place. There's so much flooding going on in India and China, Bangladesh, all across Africa as well right now. It's just, everything is speeding up. We have 12 people, at least 12 dead after heavy rains in Tanzania as well. And, Africa, again, it may end up being the breadbasket of the entire globe when we're done.
That would make sense.
It's all very interesting to see. And we've seen so much flooding. And of course, I'll give you guys all of the links as usual. And so Krakatoa is still active, and we're not ready for the tsunamis another eruption would generate. This brings up a question of what do you do in these times? I mean, do local governments attempt to relocate people? I mean, we have, some cities over in Asia that we know probably in 30 to 50 years will be underwater. Underwater. And there's other areas too. We know about the battle going on in Venice. And Venice apparently has successfully put up some flood barriers that seem to be working well so far. Cross fingers on that. So, when we look at like Indonesia gets hit with everything. They get hit with the volcanoes. They get hit with huge earthquakes as big as we get on the planet. They get hit with cyclones. They get hit with everything again. And some of these areas, when there's something that's going to come, it's just a matter of time. How do you move a population? Can you entice a population to move away from a beautiful area that, can be also producing a lot of food, but then have such a high risk situation associated with it?
Well, I think Mother Nature has her own way of enticing people to move.
Yeah, she sure does. So this touches on that December 2018 eruption, which ended up causing part of the flanks to collapse in the ocean, created that tsunami that was tragic and really terrifying to watch. It left 437 dead, 32,000 injured, 16,000 people displaced. And of course, there's been much bigger eruptions in the past. In 1883, eruption of Krakatoa was one of the deadliest volcanic explosions in modern history. And, this one, a small island just disappeared overnight. And it was so loud it could be heard 3,000 miles away. And it collapsed into the sea, and it created a tsunami 37 meters high. So, over 100 foot high, tall enough to submerge a 6-story building. And it raced across the shoreline of the Sunda Strait, destroyed 300 towns and villages, killed more than 36,000. Nowadays, with the population so high, that number might be tenfold.
I would hope that they would be getting people out of there and people would get the means to move.
Yeah, and of course we have so many other things going on right now that complicate things, and so much power and control issues that even complicate things even more, unfortunately. So here we see in Slovakia, cold snow and epic flooding, and they say it's reminiscent of the apocalypse. Well, the apocalypse means unveiling, but everybody just associates it with destruction. And so we look at the beautiful winter scenery there already in Slovakia. And some of my mom's family comes from that area. And this feels miserable because it's right around freezing, but yet it's not snow coming down. You know how damn cold that's got to be when they're in there waiting in it. Again, trying to probably rescue people and things. Tough situations we're seeing across the globe.
That's horrible.
It is. And then we find another massive die-off. This time, 5,000 dead seal pups are found in Namibia. And that's just another tragedy. Of course, we talked about the 2 massive die-offs up in Kamchatka. And by the way, they're thinking of releasing Fukushima water into the ocean. What's wrong with the governance of this planet?
Just not a good idea.
Yeah, basically, they're definitely, they're not doing Mother Nature any favors.
Nope, they're not.
As you see, we're sitting on the cusp of a catastrophe, literally thousands of seal pups being born prematurely and dying almost immediately. They say it's a natural phenomenon, meaning when a pregnant female feels she doesn't have enough reserves, she can abort the fetus. This happens every year to a few individuals, but not on this scale. So it's just sad. It's really sad. And then this one is super creepy. Weird, venomous caterpillars that look like walking toupees, I kid you not, are invading Virginia.
It does look like a total toupee.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you would look at and say, who left their wig?
You know, if it wasn't venomous, I'd want to pet it, sort of.
Yeah, but don't pet it. Don't pet it. It is venomous, and they say that it feels like a burning hot knife when it does release its venom on people. Not a good situation, and really kind of gross, and we have a lot of these strange things going on. So it's a venomous pus caterpillar, and it's the larva form of the southern flannel moth. And if you see one, you should stay away from it. Its hairs, quote unquote, are actually spines. And it makes it one of the most venomous caterpillars in the United States. A woman in New Kent County described the sensation of a scorching hot knife passing through the outside of my calf when she brushed against one on the door of her car.
Ouch! Oh.
Yeah, that's a creepy little toupee.
It is. It's well, I don't know. I look at it and I think it's cute, but then I read about it and I get scared.
Yeah, well, cute from a distance, and it's good to keep these at a distance.
Yeah, at a distance.
So thank you guys so much for your support on Patreon and Ko-Fi. Make sure you are subscribed and have the bell clicked on both channels. And we have plans for the first channel that we will be announcing hopefully within a week, to go in a direction that I think is needed in this time to help people with self-sufficiency, being able to, basically, not rely on the man.
Right. And we can learn a lot from each other, I'm sure.
Most definitely. As always, guys, stay safe, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.